Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome to a New Earth Abundance Ambassador training call. I am really excited to introduce this next guest, this very special guest that I guess, Martin, you only came across my radar 5 days ago. I'd seen you in an interview and I just took the impulse, the opportunity, and I thought I'm just going to reach out straight away. I went straight to your website, did a quick little bit of recon, and then found your contact page. And obviously, the powers that be, had you see that and responded very quickly. So here we are, less than 5 days later, live on an interview. So I'm super impressed with the way that all this works. So thank you for joining us, Martin.
You're very welcome. I had to look up where Brisbane is, actually. I knew.
That's okay. That's okay. Being right
You're going to have to look up where Prince Edward Island is.
We already have. My wife and I, Kirsten and I, have already looked that up. And, Canada is always like a second home to us. So we're looking forward to getting across your side, which is the east side, the far east side of
Far East side, right.
Canada and Charlottetown. We're a beautiful place in the world, no doubt.
It is. And summer's just coming, so everything's waking up.
Oh, fantastic. And a perfect segue into, I guess, what we're talking about today. So, given the short time frame of emails and having us now live on a call together, Martin, we haven't had the opportunity yet to engage in a little bit of rapport building or banter and those sort of things. But just to give you a little bit of context, this is a program called the Ambassador Training Program for the New Earth Abundance Movement. So every fortnight we come together and the aim with the training is to interview experts, people doing, moving the human race forward, bringing in your own language, heaven on earth. And that's why it was so resoundingly clear to reach out to you. So let me just do a very quick little intro for you. And the correct pronunciation of your surname, is it Rutte or Rutte?
Rutte, like a tree.
Rutte, good. Okay, so we've got quite the write-up in our members page and all the rest about you. I know that I can see here an international speaker, consultant, president of livelihood and management consultant for a management consultant firm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then you've gone on to do many great things, New York Times best-selling author, and you've worked with Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work, translated in over 20 languages. You've got so many projects going on. The Heaven on Earth, or Project Heaven on Earth, is most compelling. I'd like to invite you, Martin, to tell us a little bit about yourself and about Project Heaven on Earth, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. First of all, it's a delight to be with you. And I'm assuming that everybody else, Andrew, Doris, Jason, and Kerry, are all in Australia as well. Is that
there
correct?
Is some New Zealand. So Doris is in New Zealand, and Andrew, Jason, Kerry, and we should have a couple more from New Zealand jumping on soon as well.
I've not been to Australia, but I have definitely been to New Zealand. I love it. Number 99 wire was my favorite phrase. So I am, as you said, a management consultant. And I've worked with large companies like Sony Pictures, Marion Merrill Dow Consumer Pharmaceuticals, Southern California Edison, Apple Computer that you would know. I've spoken 4 times at the Harvard Business School on vision. And about 20-ish years ago, I began to look, Matthew, into the world, and I saw that there were results that I wasn't happy with. Because as a consultant, I get paid for results. And if I looked in my world, I saw hunger, poverty, war, economic privation, just a lot of things that I didn't like, a lot of things that worked, absolutely, and a lot of things that didn't work. And so I thought, I had this idea actually popped into my head, heaven on earth. And I could remember sitting there going, oh my God, you can't say that. You can't say heaven on earth. I mean, people will think you're nuts. They'll make fun of you. I've got this reputation. But then I began to delve deeper into it, and I thought, we can talk about hell on earth, can't we? Then why can't we talk about heaven on earth? The hells on earth, keep going round and round and round. Particularly today, you see all the craziness going on in the world. This school shooting last week in Santa Fe, Texas, terrible. And so we can talk about hell on earth, but we can't talk about heaven on earth. And wouldn't heaven on earth be the kind of vision we want for the kind of world we deeply long for? So that began this inquiry into what is heaven on earth? Not that I would impose it on you, not that I would say, this is heaven on earth, I know what it is and you don't. That's not going to work. That's imposing it on you. Rather, what I'm interested in, Matthew, is evoking it from you. Because my premise and my experience has been, you do know what heaven on earth is for you, your life, and the world. That conversation hasn't really been permissible in the world. I want to make it permissible, and I want to have you begin to take tiny, tiny, tiny little actions that would begin that process of making heaven on earth real. And so, I mean, that's a short form of, these last 20 years and what I've been up to. And I mean, my most recent thing, as you know, is this book, Project Heaven on Earth, which I found out is available in Australia and New Zealand on Amazon. So, I developed these 3 questions. And what I'd like to do, if I may, with you, we haven't prepped any of this interview at all.
No, this is brilliant. Just leaving it open and see where it goes. Yeah.
Fine with me. Can I ask you my 3 heaven on earth questions?
You most certainly can. I'm aware of those which drew me to you, but for the rest of those attending, and Julie, you've just joined. Welcome.
Hi, Julie. So my first question, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on? But I'd like each of you to think about that. Matthew, actually, I'd like you to answer that question, if you would.
Fantastic. Recalling a time where it was heaven on earth,
when you experienced heaven on earth.
The birth of my most recent son. So he's 13 and a half months now. Yeah.
And were you in the room?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
And you saw it.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. So it was a little bit of trauma coming out, but then being able to see the help come around him. He was oxygenated for a couple of minutes, being able to hold his little hand for the first 5 to 10 minutes of his life, and then to see him reunited with mum for the first time. So that was really special.
All right, so that's the first question. I'm going to ask each question, and then I'll come back at the end of it and tell you why I asked them in those orders. So the first question that I would like everyone to think about and answer for themselves, or no, people can be unmuted, can't they? And they can answer.
Yes, we'll go through some questions as we go through.
Okay.
But if you want to type them in, by all means type them in. This is highly engaging, very interactive. We will have some open air question time for you, Martin, as well.
Very good. All right, second question. Imagine you have a magic wand. And with this wand, you can have heaven on earth. What's heaven on earth for you?
Well, that's an easy one. It's actually traveling the world with my family as a unit and engaging people from all walks of life in the opportunity of finding themselves, enlightening themselves on how special they are, and contributing that back towards their communities and their families and workplaces.
Very clear. And the third question, what simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to move that forward?
That's easy as well. We'll be doing our first presentation within 24 hours in a regional town 2 hours drive from where we are, called Gympie, where we're doing an abundance training as part of the Living Light Tour. So getting into regional, rural areas to help people activate their potential.
Now, you're going to do that anyway.
I thought you were going to call me out on that. That's good.
No, not at all, not at all. I want to add something to it.
Yeah.
You're going to. So there's actually 2 answers to the third question. Either somebody says I'll do something new, or they say I'll do something that I've already planned on doing anyway, and you fall into the second category. Can you also add to that seminar you're doing in Gympie that is your contribution to heaven on earth?
Yes, I can add to that. Good. So let's go through the 3 questions. Question 1, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on? And you notice what you did not do, Matthew. You didn't ask me, what do you mean by heaven on earth? Nobody asks that question. What people do is what you did, which is just answer the question. But in order for you to answer it, there must be what I call within you an already knowing. This is heaven on earth. When I saw my son born, that's heaven on earth. I know it was. All right, so that's one that you have had an experience of heaven on earth,
and that you know what it is, this already knowing. Second question, here's the magic wand. The rationale for the magic wand is it removes the necessity of having to know how you're going to do it. And if you don't have to know how you're going to do it, then you can just go for the what. And the what was very clear for you. And imagine a room of 100, 200 people each standing up sharing what heaven on earth is for them. It's amazing, because people know what heaven on earth is. And then the third question, we can't just leave it at the second question. We can't just leave it at this is heaven on earth. We've got to begin having you get into action. And I want you to take a simple, tiny little action every day that will move it forward, move it forward, move it forward. My book, if you look, it's a workbook, because I don't want you just to get the idea of heaven on earth and the possibility of heaven on earth, which is wonderful. I want you to actually engage with it. So by the time you're finished reading the book, you know, I know what heaven on earth is for me, and this is what I'm going to do to make that real in the world.
Fantastic. I love the simplicity of the process, and it's so organic. It is. It expands people's awareness and your field of consciousness, your ability to dial into what moves you, what inspires you, and what lights you up. That's what I loved about those three questions. So I'm glad you asked me first about them, because being asked personally rather than doing self-inquiry and hearing it come out of your mouth, sets off, a second wave vibration or confirmation within our physical body too. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way of saying yes. I want you to hear you saying it. So it is evoked from you. And if we never meet again, which I hope doesn't happen, but if we never meet again, you now know what heaven on earth is. It's open to you.
Yes. Well, I will be cheeky and I will put it straight out there that I'd like to do something more along this topic with you, and that's one of the action steps I'd love to explore post this interview. And
lovely, with pleasure.
It's so aligned and so purposely positioned, and what we all need right now as well. So let's get a little bit of engagement from you guys watching.
Please.
Did you go through those three questions? I hope you did. And what was your feedback? What resonated with you about those three questions? Just type in and let us know. Thanks, Kerry. We're going to get to that as well. Definitely, I'm waiting for the paperback version to arrive so I can get deep into those exercises as well, Martin, that's for sure.
You've ordered it from Australia? I wanted to just make sure it's available there. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I went to your website and you've got all the Amazon links there as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful,
exactly right.
Beautiful. So while we're waiting for some feedback from people, let's heaven on earth. This is something that it can be steeped in the dogma of religion as well, which may be linked to why people find it a little bit, hard to either digest or to verbalize. What's your view on this? So, of being able to transcend or bridge the gap between social or religious stigma or conditioning and this, harmony that you can move into alignment with very quickly with your three questions. Yeah.
A couple of answers to your question, Matthew. One is, when I began to do this, people said, "Oh, don't use the word heaven. That's so dogmatic. People are going to think you're trying to proselytize a particular point of view," which never crossed my mind, but it doesn't matter. That's people's reaction. But once they answer the three questions, the issue is gone. They never again think that I'm trying to impose a particular viewpoint, which I'm not, because, to try to impose a particular view called this is heaven, it's not going to work.
That's
It
right.
goes against my mind. The other thing is, on the other side, there's a chapter in the book called What the Faith Traditions Say. So I asked this master's student, go and find out what the major religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, find out what they say about heaven on earth. And he didn't listen to me. He came back with quotes from 17 different religions. And I didn't know how to grapple with that. And so all of a sudden I thought, well, wait a minute. What if we put the religions in alphabetical order? So Buddhism, Christianity, and so forth. And what's amazing in that chapter, once I read all his quotes, is they all talk about heaven on earth, different ways of going at it, but it's not, this is interesting, it's not heaven after death. When you talk to most people about heaven, what they think of is the place of where God and the angels is, upstairs, the place you go after death, but it is not here and now. And that fascinated me. I mean, may heaven exist up there? That's wonderful for me. But why does God say this has to be hell on earth? I don't think so. I mean, I certainly don't want it. I want heaven here. But we were never, it's not been permissible language. We think that we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden and can't go back in. You'll read in the book as well, I went into Judaism, Christianity, and Islam and reinterpreted how they look at the Garden of Eden story. We were kicked out, but it doesn't say we can't go back in. I think what our job is to make this into the Garden of Eden.
Yes, so well said, so well said. And as I was listening to your response there and thinking about, you know, the biblical interpretation of Adam and Eve and, you know, the biting of the apple and, you know, this self-imposed guilt that we carry, that we moved ourselves away and created the separation from God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. And so what's your view on your heaven on earth principles in helping someone to, I guess, re-enroll them into life, that they may feel lost, they may feel, you know, financially, relationally, you know, vocationally, sort of separated?
It's a very profound question, the notion of separation. We think that, well, let me go to the fundamental belief people have about heaven on earth. It is impossible. We have never had heaven on earth, therefore we can never have it. There's always been hunger, there's always been war. One of the chapters in the book looks at misbeliefs and misconceptions. If the fundamental belief of humanity is we can never have heaven on earth, I mean, think about that.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense at all. It is craziness. It is crazy. So I'm questioning that very belief. Now, and I'm not, by the way, saying I don't want to diminish religion at all. I think religion is a wonderful force in the world, and there's been parts of it that haven't worked. But we can have heaven here now on this earth. I think that's our job as humanity.
Yes, without doubt, without doubt. It feels like the shift in human consciousness, the movement in people's awareness is asking them to redefine their beliefs and their values. And I know that...
And their story.
And their story. Would you like to go into that a little bit more about, you know, values and our story and the benefit?
I write a whole chapter on story, that the story that we're not conscious of actually provides our perception of reality. So 5 or 10 years ago, in the US and Canada, I don't know if in Australia or New Zealand, but a lot of people, Matthew, were saying, the old story's not working. The old story's not working. We need a new story. We need a new story. But nobody named that new story. So if I keep saying to you, with respect to our relationship, Matthew, we need a new story for our relationship. We need a new story. But I don't attempt to name that new story. It becomes a source of frustration. My gift, what I'm offering the world, my offering is to name that new story. To say what we are entering now is a new phase in our evolution in which we co-create the new story of what it means to be a human individual and what it means to be humanity, collective.
Yes.
Our evolution is now at a place where we can do that. I know it doesn't look like that on the surface. There's all these waves and storms. You know, I'm on the ocean here. Our little cottage is on the ocean. And when there's a storm and you go into the water and go dive underneath, you're in this world of silence and the storm's above. So it's this silence, this place of heaven on earth that is beginning now to emerge around the world, and I want to go into, we have 63 different projects that are going on currently now around the world, where people have said, this is what heaven on earth is for me, and this is how I'm going to begin bringing it about. And when you read that, it's on my website, projectheavenonearth.com. When you look at those stories, a lot of them of which have links to the actual story, it's so inspiring. People want a new story, but it's not been permissible. You haven't been able to go around and saying, I'm working on heaven on earth. Matthew, what are you doing to contribute to heaven on earth? I want that to be the normal conversation of what it means to be a human.
It's fantastic. Really, really is. And it brings up, I guess, the esoteric sort of knowledge that, when you name something,
yes,
you give it meaning, and you give it, you breathe life into it. Yes. And so naming it a project, or, it is birthed from you. And so it comes from your vision. It comes from the level of clarity and inspiration, and I guess aspirations that you have, that may, you have experienced contrast in the past, which is why you have now the benefit of hindsight to move yourself forward. Do you want to talk a little bit about values? Our personal values, and shifting towards the highest vibration of those new set of values we can.
As I've asked those three questions of countless people in the world, Matthew, there are patterns of answers that begin to emerge. And you'll see that in the book. There are 8 different gateways: internal gateways, external gateways, relationship gateways, here and now gateway. And values come into play in 2 arenas. First of all, internally, that this is a value, say harmony. Well, harmony is my value. Mm-hmm. That harmony is a personal value that I want to live by within my own life. So one of the things that the book asks you to do, if you choose, is to discover what values you want to live your own life by. And then we also look at global values. What value do you want to see lived in the world that you want to contribute to? So again, mine in this case would be the same, it'd be harmony, but it doesn't need it. It could be peace, could be love. So there are 2 gateways, 2 value gateways, both individual and collective, that I've discovered after asking people these 3 questions.
Yeah, so there's so much information on your website. I highly encourage everyone, including those not able to join us for this interview live, to go to projectheavenonearth.com and just immerse yourself in. There's so much content. It's very, very, let's say you are a visionary, and that's, I can dial straight into that. We can see the global perspective. We can see the movement and the currents of energy, and potentially what is required. And what I've long said is that abundance is simple, or there is simplicity within the complexity. And so those 3 questions are root questions that we can ask in any scenario that we find ourselves in. Let me just share some of the feedback we have here. So Doors, based on the 3 questions, the clarity in answering those 3 questions was almost instant. There you go. It didn't require thinking. Didn't require thinking. Yeah. It was birthed from your center, from your heart, no doubt. And Kerry, it confirmed that yes, heaven on earth is within us. It is something we can create that is already in us, but to let it out and share it. I love love seeing that you've said that, Kerry. And Andrew, love the fact that it takes a high-level concept, heaven on earth, and is a very short number of steps, brings it into day-to-day reality and action through small steps. So yes, the simplicity of it. Yeah, love it. And Jason, 3 questions gave me a sense of certainty that I am heaven on earth. Yeah. So good. So good. I am heaven on earth.
Jason, I love that. No one's ever said that before. So let me point something out to you. Matthew, tell me the title of the book, please.
Project Heaven on Earth.
Right. Now, read it another way. Read the first word as a verb.
Project. I love that. I love that.
So was it Jason who said, I am heaven on earth? Jason, I love that. I have never heard anyone say that before. That's very powerful for me. Thank you.
He will love the fact that you love that.
I do. I do.
He's doing a lot of great things, as everyone on this call is. It is amazing. You know, those that show up, you know, always have everything that is required. And that's one thing. When we show up and ask those three questions of ourselves, you know, we have everything we need in that moment, don't we?
Lovely. And I would add one thing to it, which is I would invite people listening and watching to ask other people those three questions as well. And if somebody says, what do you mean by heaven on earth? Don't answer the question. Just turn it back to them, because they know. People know. This is what's so still amazing to me after all these years. People know, deeply know what heaven on earth is. You know, let me just talk a little bit about the knowing. At the beginning, I thought it was, people's vision for heaven on earth. And I thought, no, it's their soul's knowing of heaven on earth. And I thought, no, it's deeper. It's like the essence of their soul. And lately what I've been saying, no, I think it's your divine knowing. A lot of my work in consulting has been around vision. And this is much deeper than vision, much deeper than people know. And I want that knowledge to be now out in the world as normal conversation.
And it should be, without doubt. And that's why, you know, we're feeling so inspired by this level of conversation, because it takes us out of this, you know, mental framework, this box, self-imposed, you know, some of the times, but, you know, laden in beliefs. It takes us out of that and helps us to crystallize, like you said, a projection of a reality that we actually seek to experience as a soul, as a being, a sentient, you know, experience. So,
agreed.
Yeah. So, yes. So let me ask you this: if we go into that sentient side of things, what is your view on our journey as souls, as human beings on the planet? Because I notice on your website you do have a number of questions or, you know, statements around why we are here on Earth. It's a common question for those people in seeking mode, I guess.
Boy, no one's asked me that before. To wake up, to realize this is heaven on earth. Jason, as you said, I am heaven on earth. I would add, and this just came to me, we are heaven on earth as well. You know, in the U.S., the Black civil rights movement, there was, you know, tremendous oppression of Blacks in the U.S. for many, many years. And then in the 50s and the 60s, there were these meetings in church basements, church backrooms all over the country, mostly in the Southeast. And then all of a sudden, the soil had been tilled enough, the seeds had been planted, the sun was on them, the water had been, you know, put on them, the rain, and boom, up popped Martin Luther King. Up popped the civil rights movement. That wasn't something that came out of nowhere. And so as I talk to my friends around the world, it's no surprise that you picked this up. You know, all of you are sitting here. Yes, you're in Australia, different time zone, blah, 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 all that stuff. But there's an awakening going on. And I know there's a lot of craziness, especially in the US right now, and with Brexit and North Korea and blah, blah. Underneath all of that, I mean, one of the things I say is that President Trump is vice president of marketing for Project Heaven on Earth.
Yes. Yeah.
He's forcing us to go deeper into our own soul, discover our own truth, and step up and step forward with that. That's what this time is for me. How long this will take, how it will show up, I have no idea. All I know is I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And that's the point right there, Martin, that you have stepped into your, you could say, highest potential, your soul's vision or purpose, and you are doing your part. And that's what I hear, having been in this field for 25 years and worked with a lot of people similar to you, that there is always that question of doubt that says, who me? Why would anyone listen to me? What, am I some egotistical, sociopath that believes that I'm chosen for something? What's your view on that?
Thank you. Imagine this is 25 years ago, and I have this thought called, I want to help create heaven on earth.
Yeah.
I mean, even I was like, what are you talking about? No, that's nuts. But when I really looked at it, it was like, yeah. And so part of what I've been looking at, Matthew, as well, is the misbeliefs people have. I can't make a difference. And here's why. I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to European parents who didn't speak English. I don't have enough of an education. I'm not of the right class. I'm not of the right country. I'm not an American. Pick a reason. It's Tuesday. It doesn't matter what the reason is. And all those reasons are true for people.
Yes.
And none of them make a difference. That's why I think purpose work, soul work, this kind of work, your kind of work, all of us around the world who are not only beginning to do it, but doing this, you can't see it visibly yet in the world, and it is happening. It's happening very clearly. Yes,
and it takes, incredible contrast. And obviously, we could call people like Trump or anyone else not the puppeteer, the puppet that is helping to activate and heal those wounds by bringing them to the surface, because there's been so much contrast for so long. So what I'd love to do is, those of you listening right now, have you got a question? If you've got a question for Martin, just type in yes, and I'll unmute you. And you can ask a question. If it's going to be an hour and a half long to answer that one question, then we can reconsider it. So if you've got a question for Martin, just type in yes, and I'll bring you up live. Okay.
Lovely. I'd love to hear from each of you.
Yes, even just the shift in accents, I think, is quite
good. Yes.
That's good. So, Dawes, we're all helping to raise and co-create the vibration of heaven in the now. So beautiful. So beautiful. So, of course, we've got Kerry, who is an infinite well of questions. So, Kerry, you're unmuted.
Hello. Thank you so much for arranging this and so quickly.
Thank you, Kerry. Can I see your face? Or you're not on, right?
I am. Wait a minute. I'll see. I've been moving around. That's why.
There you are.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Got you. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I see the halo around me.
Yeah.
Look, I can be a devil's advocate at times, and what I question almost everything nowadays, and I'm going to throw this in the mix and to see. I want to hear what somebody else says about it. So the question is, how do we know that we're experiencing what we are through the changes and other, but not through other control, like religion, light workers, and all those sort of things has turned out to be just another form of religion, another form of something to follow. So this movement, if you want for a better word, that we're in now, how do we know that this is in fact a shift that we're all going through, that's a natural spiritual shift in our physical form, or that it's controlled by someone pushing buttons and controlling us in a matrix?
Good question. Well, let me begin with you. Do you know what you're here for?
Oh, yeah, thanks to Matt. I've finally been able to get into that, and yes, absolutely.
Do you want to share that with me, or?
Oh, okay. I'm here to work with children instead of adults healing the wounded side of themselves. I want to work with children to work through their stuff, so that to give them a bag of tools that they can work with, so they don't need to grow up and be a wounded adult, but have tools to move forward, because the world is shifting so much faster. We need kids to know what to do rather than kids to be wounded.
Very clear, and very moves my heart. And how do you know that's working?
because it's healing from me.
So there's one way we know
Mm.
that this movement is working,
Mm.
because it's healing for me as well. I mean, I've had to look at a lot of crap in my life, and still, you know, and we have my wife and I have this thing at 7 p.m. rather, every day. A little song goes up, and we stop and we say, with love and thanks, we are experiencing heaven on earth. We are creating heaven on earth. We are co-creating heaven on earth. And every day at 7 o'clock, we stop when that music comes on and we say that. And Carrie, it makes us so present to it. And that's one way we know. Another way we know for me is when I look at the 63 projects, when I see people, you know, who have embedded their definition of heaven on earth at the bottom of an email, of every email that goes out, or a woman in Canada who created this program. There was violence against women and nothing was happening. She created a program called Making Change, in which she asked people to donate a penny a day to help end violence against women. It was an amazing. A real estate agency that asks each agent to contribute $100 off the commission from every house or building sold. And they've created a program called A Home for Everyone. People in Croatia, Hungary, Austria, and Denmark who have said, my country is a heaven on earth country, nation, and are working toward that. So when I see these projects, and that's just a couple, there's tons, a police officer who's written a 16-page manual called Heaven on Earth for Law Enforcement. When I see these very concrete results that emerge from people's creativity that I could never think of, I know that it's moving in the right direction.
Right. Thank you for that heartfelt message. I really got that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kerry. Great question. Always the beautiful can opener to the worms within of consciousness. Kerry, beautiful, beautiful. Do we have any other questions? Don't be shy. There is never, ever an evil, ridiculous, or bad question. Okay.
I love questions, please.
Yeah.
I love questions.
Yeah, and you can tell you just exude passion and excitement around this topic, Martin. So while we're waiting for a couple more yeses, I'm surprised there at a couple of people here. Good, Doors. Let's just jump on Doors straight away. Woof. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, Doors. I'll just try to unmute you there.
Good.
There
Hi,
you
Doris.
go.
Hi, Martin. Lovely to see you. Lovely to meet you.
Same for me.
I have a question. Like, you've been to New Zealand and you've felt the energy that is in this place.
I have.
When you speak about heaven on earth, do you feel that there are places on the planet that are more have a higher vibrational level of heaven than other places on this earth?
Yes, and your nation is definitely one of them. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Actually, in my book, there's a woman who, I was in New Zealand, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe doing a conference, speaking at a conference. And this woman stood up, Margaret Jeffries in Littleton, where, you know where that, I've even forgotten where it is.
Near Wellington.
Near Wellington, okay. So she said, my commitment is to have New Zealand be a heaven on earth nation. And I said, Doris, what? It was too big I couldn't get it. It was too big for me. And so then once I saw that it was quote, too big for me, then I just shut up and said, great, how can I support you? So there is something very special about New Zealand. There's a book about heaven on earth for New Zealand, a photography book that came out several years ago. So yeah, I do feel the vibration in your country. Yeah.
New Zealand has always, well, for as long back as I can remember anyway, and probably even before that it's been known as God's own. But I take that as God zone, the zone of God.
So good.
So we're it, baby. You got to up your game.
it's a beautiful benchmark, Dawes, and as you know, we'll be across there in a couple of weeks for the Living Light tour. So
Looking forward to that.
The energy that is coming out, it's and Martin, this is for you too. It feels like that there are certain regions within the world, you could call them node points, that are setting the new calibration or recalibrating the consciousness through, whether it's through sociology or through, you know, the humanitarian efforts or whatever it may be. What is your view on that? Thank you, Dawes, for your brilliant question, by the way. Thank you.
No, I feel that. I felt that from the beginning. New Zealand was the first person, the first person who said New Zealand will be a heaven on earth nation. And there's a woman in Austria. I did a webinar, I think a 10 or 12 session webinar, and she was listening in. And she said, my heaven on earth project is Austria is a heaven on earth country. And I said to her, why do you say that? And she said, well, because it's simple. And that was one of the most profound answers I'd ever heard. So what I've noticed is that when people come up with a project, there is a simplicity to it from their perspective. So while it's simple for one woman to put her definition of heaven on earth embedded at the end of every email, for Elizabeth in Austria, it's simple for her to have Austria be a heaven on earth country. No big deal. Mine is Prince Edward Island, where I am in the summer, in our summers. About 10 years ago, I was doing a workshop here, and this line came into my head. Prince Edward Island is Canada's first heaven on earth province. We have 10 provinces, 3 territories. This is also the birthplace of Canada, by the way, so it has a very historical and mythical stature for the country. And we have I'll just go through them off the top of my head. A tea lady here who's created a heaven on earth tea. A cafe which has a heaven on earth coffee blend, a jewelry store owner who has 2 jewelry stores who hands out the 3 heaven on earth questions with every purchase, a fundraiser for a women's battered shelter, heaven on earth for Anderson House. The Prince Edward Island Business Women's Association have had 2 heaven on earth workshops that I've led. And the Kiwanis Club, do you have Kiwanis in Australia?
Yes.
Yep, Service Club. They have the Heaven on Earth Leadership Award for every high school in the province.
Wow.
So it's amazing how once you make get clear on the intention, make the commitment, magic starts happening.
Oh, and like you said, Martin, it is so simple. So I can feel the wheels turning in everyone's minds right now. What can I do locally? And that's what was
or globally or nationally
or globally. That's right. And I remember at the end of 2012, most of you have heard this vision that I'd been through a couple of shifts and changes in life, and it got to the end of 2012, and in one moment, there was this massive download of information. And it was seeing, intersecting circles, the flower of life enshrouding the planet, and seeing those intersecting points as points of light, and those points of light representing living embodiments of heaven, of light cities. So helping to awaken and activate people all over the globe through the work that you're doing as well is just so important and enriching. Yeah,
thank you, Matthew. I have a question for the people who have not shared. Are any little projects, any little heaven on earth projects perking up for you?
Great question. Great question.
Anybody?
And if you do, or even you might have a question about a project that just came into your mind then, and you'd like to flag it
is there, you're not clear about a project? Let me work with you a little coaching about how we could find a project for you that's yours.
Who's up
Jason,
for that?
I keep looking at you, Jason. I think you're the one. Yes, I think so too. I can feel you across these halfway around the world.
Yes, yeah. He's moved, so he's got better light. He's positioning himself, getting his wriggle on, ready to. So I'm going to bring you up, Jason. Big J, we call him here.
Big J. All right.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, Jason.
Yeah. So when you were saying that, Matt, the thing that came to me was a vision which I have dismissed, I suppose, in a way, because I didn't know what it looked like. And it was actually I saw myself walking up a path of darkness, or like a mountain, or like a journey, and I was carrying light. And I just thought of a movement along that as being a light walker rather than a light worker. That's come through, but I don't know what that that just came to me. I don't know.
That's fantastic.
Well, so let's, can we play a little with it?
Yeah, let's play. I love playing.
Let's do it.
All right. So you had this years ago.
Yeah, it would have been about, it was about 2 years ago.
All right. And you dismissed it at that time.
Yeah.
And now it's popped up again.
Yeah.
And the phrase is light walker. All right. What's a simple way to produce more light workers in the world that you'd be willing to do? That would be so easy for you to do. It's like, oh, I can do that.
A form of connection.
All right, and then just make it concrete. What would the form of connection be like? How would you form that connection? How would you awake the light walker in me?
By looking into you, like seeing you.
Are you doing that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it. Okay, I'm in. Thank you. There's your first one.
Beautiful. Can I make a suggestion too on that?
Yeah.
Please.
So the play on the word, light walker, walking lightly upon the planet. You could be doing local walks or set up. There's Park Run is a global movement of, runners. And so light walker could be connected to, something that you're very impassioned by, which is, teen suicide or, depression, those sort of things.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're just like, that's just, yeah, the big thing that's come through, this makes me really emotional. It's around bullying has been a really big thing. And when we walk lighter, what I find is the darkness moves out of the way.
Very powerful.
Yeah. So
sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So this is the message that I have been trying to express and communicate to people, but I've been blocked by it, and I find that really interesting. And last weekend I was pushed, and my question was going to be actually today is that the more I illuminate my light, it's like the darkness wants to really make me wrong for it. And when you said about heaven on earth, I was like, I've always believed that. I've always believed that we were heaven on earth, and I could never understand how people could not see that.
Yes.
So to be a light walker is actually moving in that way that shows that you basically are in your individuality, but also in your full expression. Therefore, you're more connected, not just with yourself, but with the world. But when you're actually shut down, you shut down from the world, and therefore that's what creates darkness. Because when the sun goes down, what happens? We have darkness.
Great way to help awaken people, right?
Yeah.
And it's simple, as Martin was saying. Love that.
I see a logo here of a person with those big torches.
Torch, yeah.
Torch. Yes.
Definitely.
And it's funny you should say that, because I just had a marketing thing with a girl that I said to her, I feel like I shine light on people's darkness, because when you're in a cave, or and I actually did a live video on this, when you're in that darkness, how do you feel? What is it? Can you get out? But when someone shines a torch, or you have that desire within you that has light, I must start a fire, I must do that. It illuminates the path, and things that were in your mind that you saw as scary, no longer, you can see them for what they are, not what you thought they were in your imagination.
Yeah.
Underline that, Jason. Underline that. You can see them for what they truly are, not what you thought of in your imagination. And I hooked that back for me to when you said, I am heaven on earth. No one has ever said that, Jason.
Yeah.
You got to get that. When you said that, I went, hello.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a special unit, Jason. As everyone is very gifted on this call, Jason has pushed the fringes a lot over the last couple of years that we've known each other, and an absolute no-brainer. You can see the suggestions coming out. It's ringing bells for people. So it's really, really good.
Jason, you're onto something. Keep going. Keep going.
Thank you so much, Martin. Yeah, thank you so much, Martin. That's just amazing. I really appreciate it.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Excellent.
You're contributing to me as well.
So good, mate.
Awesome.
I'm sure your head will be spinning off its axis now.
It is.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So this is the beautiful thing, Martin, that this process is actually awakening this genius within people, and it's giving you a focal point, I guess, to say, instead of focusing on all the reasons why something can't work, or why I'm not ready, or that I'm not the right person, it's now almost propelling you forward and decluttering and illuminating the way forward.
That's it. That's exactly.
Yeah, love it. And so, Kerry, there, Jason, years ago, I realized that we're not in a dark tunnel looking for the light at the end, that our light is all around us here. We just didn't see it due to the veils. Nice one. And then Andrew, for me, about gridding and grounding light everywhere you walk, Jason. So when you walk on the places that need more light through your energy and consciousness, to seed light in those places as well, and help others to do the same. You can see that there's a beautiful cohort here of ideas that are just bubbling like a cauldron. And as you mentioned it, Jason, it's like the hermit card in the tarot. The hermit carries the torch. It's the torch bearer. It can feel quite lonely. It can feel that you've got to traverse landscapes and rocky mountains and those sort of things to get altitude, so that you can be a way shower. And that's what I love about your message, Martin. And the question I have for you around being that way shower is, you've got some phenomenal support and testimonies and reviews from a lot of leading, in your face, public or popular spiritual leaders. Your message, when it meets them where they're at, what has the feedback been from them towards heaven on earth?
Initially, there was a lot of discounting. Even in that group of people, it's too big. It was too early. And so that was fine. I wasn't going to push it, but I've just kept seeding it very gradually, very gently. And I can see a sea change beginning, more than beginning, with those people when they realize, oh yeah, I get it, heaven on earth. Okay, good. And so there's no charge on it anymore. It's just, oh yeah, Martin, heaven on earth, I get it. Okay.
It's amazing, isn't it? It really is amazing. Even, enrolling ourselves in that next level of awareness, we can still trap ourselves in limitation or in the confines of a single view, can't we?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I still do. I mean, this process is also about me, just learning more and more about heaven and earth and what to do. I mean, family members who have thought I was nuts, friends who have thought I was nuts, people who would just go, oh, okay, and roll their eyes and walk away. And I just stuck with it because I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if it's not for you today, it might be for you tomorrow, or it might never be for you, which is also fine. Or you might just get it and go, I got it. Thank you. Finally. And you're off and running. So this is my game. This is what I've been sent here to do. And I'm good at it and I love it. And I meet people like you. Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup said to me, Marty, when this book comes out, it's going to open doors for you that you can't not even imagine. And so here I am at 11 o'clock at night on a Monday talking to Australia and New Zealand. Wonderful.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. The reach of truth, the reach of a pureness. I think, Andrew, you said about the purity of it all. And so I guess, I could go on for another couple of hours. I'm sure you could, push long into the night. There is so much to cover. I'd love to have you answer those three questions.
Oh,
if you wouldn't mind.
Ask them.
So the first one, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth, Martin.
When my wife looks into my eyes and I get her love, when I'm in a shitty mood and she'll just come and create a space around me and then everything just melts. It's just wonderful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, now imagine a time, imagine you have a magic wand, and with this magic wand you can have heaven on earth. What is heaven on earth for you?
Jason, you deeply affected me tonight when you said, I am heaven on earth. The beginning, I am, is a very powerful phrase, notion. It talks about being, really. I am heaven on earth. I know I'm not only heaven on earth, but the notion of heaven on earth. So that people get that they are heaven on earth, that they can experience it, that they can create it, that they can clearly co-create it, and that what shows up in the world is humanity saying, I get it. This is the new story, and we're living it. That to me is heaven on earth.
Beautiful. Sensational. Love it. I guess lastly, what simple, easy, concrete step will you take within the next 24 hours to make heaven on earth real for you?
I'm thinking, I do 3 to 5 marketing things a day to get more interviews and people. I will make one outreach, it's too late now, but in the next 24 hours to, I know who, to the producer of a national radio show here that I've been kind of holding off, a little frightened of, what if she blah, blah, blah. No, I'm going to reach out to her. I've forgotten her name, but the Sunday edition. Right, so I will do that in the next 24 hours.
Epic. That's so good. That's so good. So good. Look, I'm sure you're going to, there's a potential for you to have a couple more late nights, because I know that there's some people on here that might want to interview you as well with their communities. I know Jason's nodding already, and Daws, no doubt, there'll be some things going through your head. Are there any questions? I'm reticent or reluctant to wrap up too early. Have we got another 10 to 15 minutes? Yep.
I'm wide awake.
I was going to say, wide awake. Okay, so Andrew, do you have a question? Julie, do you have a question?
Andrew, I think you want to say something.
He does. He's gagging.
I can feel it.
Yeah. You're on mute.
All right. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Andrew.
Yeah, I guess my question...
Andrew, I got to interrupt you for a second. Look behind you. On the wall behind you is a painting.
Yes.
Does it not look like these two colors?
It looks very similar, actually. Well spotted.
The old reticular activating system.
Go ahead, Andrew.
It's my beautiful partner. She does crystal paintings, so it's about bringing light into her paintings and sharing that with the world. So yeah, very interesting. But yeah, I guess my question is, have you ever thought about more the future of where all this is going, and where do you see all these? So everyone's doing all their little heaven on earth projects. What do you see the bigger picture of that, say in 10, 20 years, and how that all comes together?
It's a very good question. I was speaking about a week ago to a man named Ronaldo Brutico, who is the president of the World Business Academy, just a brilliant man. And I was saying, Ronaldo, it's not going as fast as I wanted to. I mean, I wanted 18 billion copies of my book to be sold yesterday. and he said, look, that's not your job now. Your job now is to continue to put it out, seed it, give it character, give it foundation, give it legs. And he said that to me, and I just went, I get it. That's my job right now. Because I had spoken to him about, there's very few people who I think are at my level or beyond my level in terms of experience directly speaking about heaven on earth. And he's one of them. And so I said, Ronaldo, we've got to do like some big conference where we can scale this globally and get a whole bunch of speakers. And he said, I don't think that's the time. The time now is seeding. So that's part one of my answer to you. That's what I see right now going on. And then in a while, and I don't know how long that's going to take, we'll do a stage jump, and I will know when that is, because I'm hypersensitive to those kinds of things, and I'll begin to look at what's next for that in that arena. Right now, my thought is, some kind of global conference with people speaking about it, big names, but I don't know that because I don't know what that will call for in terms of the leverage that we will need at that point. Right now, the leverage is seeding.
Yeah.
Normalizing the conversation.
Love that. If you don't mind me adding in as I hear you answering that, Martin, and great question that was on my mind too, Andrew, is seeing that there is this dovetailing of human need shifting to human want over the next 5 to 10 years as we take on more shifts, geopolitically, economically, consciously, all the rest. The seeding of your book and so forth.
Sorry, I live close to the airport, so just mute.
Oh, that's okay. I thought it was your stomach. I'll just mute you for a minute. I thought you might be hungry. But that seeding will all of a sudden, bring you, your book, this energy, this frequency, this message into people's awareness. And that's what I feel very, very strongly, Martin, as soon as that question was asked, and the work that you're doing and being on stage, having certified people, I know that it's been done many times with the forgiveness, radical forgiveness, and many other sort of things. Putting this in the hands of those people that are the frontliners, that are the way showers, including, one thing that I'll be doing is we'll be buying a number of these books and gifting them to people as well as part of what we're doing to help spread that message.
Thank you, Matthew. A friend of mine said people shouldn't buy one book, they should buy 3, one for themselves, one for somebody they know that needs it, and one for somebody they will meet, who they will discover will need it. So
love it. The power of 3.
No, the power of 3. I mean, I see all of you listening in this evening, very clearly as Heaven on Earth ambassadors. So however this moves you, and to be clear, if it doesn't move you, also fine.
Yeah, it's definitely an aligned point, that's for sure. Andrew, I'll just unmute you quickly there. Anything else to add on that while you're there?
No, I think that answered my question. So thank you very much for sharing. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense that definitely in this sort of seeding stage, can definitely feel that as well. So no, thank you, Martin, for sharing that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Andrew.
Andrew, please tell your, is it wife or partner about the book?
Yes. Thank you.
No doubt. Thanks, Andrew. All right, Julie, I'm going to bring you up because I know that you like being put on the spot. You love that stuff.
Do that to me. How dare you do that to me?
Look, you were waiting in the front.
No, I wasn't.
You were asking for that dance, and I saw.
No, I wasn't.
I spied you with my own eyes.
Hello.
No,
Hi, Julie.
I'm curious now to read the book and really get into understanding it, because I've always said, I've never said heaven was here on earth, but I think it's changed because of the circumstances, and I can understand. It makes sense to say heaven here on earth as opposed to hell on earth. But, that comes from the darkness, I suppose. And then when you go into the light, and it's the changing of the thing. So I really don't have a question as such, except for I'm really interested in reading that book.
Good.
Thank you. A point that you raised, as near as I can understand, find out in my research, about the time that Galileo and Copernicus were around, heaven was considered to be just above the ground, maybe 6 inches above the ground, and just went way up. Galileo comes along with a telescope, looks up in the sky, and doesn't see what he thinks is heaven. So thus was born the notion of heaven not here, not now. And I saw this movie, I don't know if any of you saw it, called Gravity, several years ago.
Yes.
Where this spaceship is around the Earth and it gets in trouble. And anyway, they're looking down on the Earth from, quote, heaven. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, wait a minute, is Earth in some other place? Where is Earth? Is Earth not I actually went back the second day. I went back the next day and saw the movie again. I was so moved by it. I'd never done that before. So yes, our notion of heaven, I'm wanting to recontextualize it from not here, not now, to here and now.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Anything else to add, Julie?
No. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
You're welcome. I just wanted to see your fabulous new do, and it looks great. So well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. So we've got Dawes, the quintessential sort of comment here. We are all the seeds of your energy of heaven on earth. So this is to you, Martin, and our tendrils will reach far and wide. Fantastic.
Thank you, Doris.
So Kerry's starting to talk all anatomical right now. And I guess one message that, one thing that did come up before, talking about these projects, which are so important, I guess, from a soul's growth, a locking in of our purpose and bringing more fulfillment and joy to our life, is it gives us a monomaniacal view, a very laser focused view on where we direct our energy, because we can be pulled off axis quite easily by media or external sort of circumstances and events. And so
very much.
Can I ask you just to go into maybe some of your experiences around the benefits of setting up a Heaven on Earth project from a self-fulfilling perspective?
Well, let me talk about the opposite of that. I've been noticing very lately my addiction to the internet. I mean, really, really looking at that as a hell on earth. When I really don't like it, and I'm moving away from it. And so the notion of my work with Heaven on Earth, it lights me up. It makes me very present. It makes me smart. It makes me wise. It gets me interacting with people who I adore. Here I am in New Zealand and Australia, of all places. It's amazing to me. And so these doors open that I never expected. And I just keep going. My wife sometimes says to me, she has to leave the room sometimes when I'm speaking because she gets bored. I've heard this 10 million times, but you never get tired of it, do you? And no, I don't. No, I never do.
And that's the key right there. You never get tired. So you might take a couple of knocks. You might have a down day, a down week, or a down month where you're feeling there's more friction than there is flow. But it's a living, breathing. You are the embodiment of your message, and that's what is super, super clear, Martin, about you.
Thank you, Matthew. And that's true. I mean, there are knocks. There are times when I go, oh, this isn't working. There's a little flying ant there. This isn't working. It's never going to work. It's not moving as fast. And then something like this happens, and it just, we're back on track again.
Well, and, just to be a little bit tongue in cheek and I guess spirit animal sort of signs, that flying ant, the ant is about, community and work and team building, but flying is, being able to take yourself into new regions. So
very good.
Just thought I'd add that. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good sign. Everything is a sign.
This is a good sign.
Yeah. So, wow. Look, I could go on forever. I know you could. And that's the beauty about embodying a passion, a purpose, is that your fuel does not come from your body. it comes from outside of you, and lining that up is part of our eternal sort of quest to come back home to one, and that's what you're helping to do.
That's it. Yeah.
So I'd like to thank you for your time. I know this is the start of several things to come. Like I said, my mind is working, very quickly right now. We'll touch base in the next couple of days and set up a time where you and I can have a one-to-one and co-create in this space.
I look forward. A little plug again. My book.
Make sure you grab it. Yep.
Make sure you grab at least 3 copies.
Yes.
And on Project Heaven on Earth, there's a free 7-day course you can sign up for, and you'll also then get my blog for free going forward. And
Fantastic.
What I found is the blog comes out every Sunday, and it just reinforces. You can also go on the site and see past blogs. They're a real opportunity for me to express different facets of this diamond called Heaven on Earth. So thank you, Matthew, for setting this up. And thank each of you in Australia and New Zealand. I mean, it's thrilling for me. I was telling my relatives over, I'm doing an interview with Australia.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's, this triangulation, Australia, New Zealand and Canada, it's definitely been almost like an Egyptian glyph that I keep seeing all the time, this segue between the three. There's a lot of beautiful energy that's helping the transition of the planet right now, coming out of your region, and I love it. Love it.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for your questions and your presence, Martin. We will be in touch. So make sure you do grab, if you are watching the replay of this fantastic interview with Martin, you will see a link to his website and to his to Amazon, where you can purchase 3 copies of his book, one for you, one for a loved one, and one for someone that you will meet in the near future. Fantastic.
Thanks everybody.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.